Buckle up, America, because today we are tearing down the curtain on a story that proves the system is more rigged than ever. For days, we've been fed a non-stop circus of speculation, false starts, and whispers about a major move on cannabis. Well, the so-called news is finally here. President Trump has signed an executive order to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. On the surface, it sounds like a win, doesn't it? The establishment is finally acknowledging what we've known for decades. But here at Uncensored, we don't just take the headlines at face value. We dig deeper. We follow the money. And what we've found is a tangled web of political maneuvering, corporate lobbying, and a shocking double standard that reveals the true agenda behind these reforms. We're going to expose how this move, while seemingly positive, might just be another bait and switch, benefiting the powerful few while leaving the average American still fighting for true freedom. Get ready, because the truth they don't want you to hear starts now. All right, folks, let's cut through the noise and get straight to what actually happened this week, versus what we were all told was going to happen. For days, the mainstream media, and even some of our own sources, were buzzing, predicting that President Trump was about to drop an executive order, moving cannabis from its outrageous Schedule 1 classification to a more sensible Schedule 3. The rumor mill was in overdrive, cannabis stocks were jumping, business owners were feeling optimistic, hope was in the air. But then, bam! Total plot twist. Instead of cannabis, President Trump signed an executive order on fentanyl. Now, don't get me wrong, fentanyl is a deadly crisis, no doubt about it. But get this, he formally classified fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. A weapon of mass destruction. Think about the implications of that, the kind of power that designation unleashes. Meanwhile, the cannabis announcement we were all waiting for? Crickets. Nothing. Zip. Now, I understand they're saying he very strongly considered rescheduling cannabis, and that it may come later this week, or before the end of the year. But seriously, are we supposed to believe these politicians after all these broken promises? We saw the headlines. Trump seeks to cut restrictions on marijuana through planned order. Sounds great, right? But here's the problem. When you peel back the layers, you realize who really benefits from this dance. We heard it clearly in one of the clips. This has no bearing on your life whatsoever. But it does have the bearing on a few corrupt Wall Streeters and venture capitalists who have been lobbying for this in the White House so that their stocks can go boom, so they can get big tax breaks and access to the banking system. That's the ugly truth, isn't it? Top CEOs are reportedly in Mar-a-Lago in D.C., working with the president's team. They're talking about exchange listings and institutional capital as the holy grail. This isn't about your freedom, it's about their bottom line. And what about the shocking tale of Kim Rivers, the CEO of Trulieve, a multi-billion-dollar pot company? She reportedly visited Donald Trump and convinced him miraculously to grant a gigantic tax break through Schedule 3, with her former paying client, Susie Wiles, who was the White House chief of staff, bringing her into the Oval Office. Pure corruption. Unadulterated, in-your-face corruption. Many folks in the industry, especially the smaller businesses, operate in a gray area. There's no black and white. It's still prohibited at the federal level. So, while the big players are lobbying for their tax breaks and banking access, what about the average Joe? What about the entrepreneur who's trying to build a small business? Will they truly benefit? Or will this simply allow big cannabis to monopolize the market and kick out the smaller players? And let's debunk one of the most absurd conspiracy theories out there, that Big Pharma is trying to suppress cannabis. As one analyst rightly pointed out, that's just not true. Big Pharma wants to sell you anything that makes money. If cannabis becomes legal and profitable, they'll be lining up to get a piece of that pie. They're not suppressing it. They're waiting for the right moment to profit. This is about money, not medicine, not freedom, not your well-being. It's always about the money. Do you agree? Let me know below. Now, you've heard the initial hype and the shocking pivot to fentanyl, but the story doesn't end there. There was more happening behind the scenes, and the mainstream media was all too eager to paint a rosy picture while ignoring some critical details. So, after the initial fentanyl bombshell, the rescheduling soap opera took another turn. Fresh reports from CNN started to trickle out, claiming that President Trump still planned to sign an executive order related to cannabis reclassification, possibly just days after the fentanyl announcement. We heard the president himself say, "We are considering that." Yeah, we are looking at that very strongly. Very strongly, he said. And why the sudden renewed interest? The polls, folks. The cold hard numbers don't lie. CNN's chief data analyst Harry Enton broke it down for us. 64% of Americans say cannabis should be legal. That's 2 in 3 Americans. You rarely get that kind of consensus on anything in this country anymore, and nearly half of all Americans have at least used cannabis one time. This isn't just about public opinion. It's about political calculus. The analyst outright called it some of the best politics that Donald Trump has done in a long period of time if he reschedules. Why? Because it appeals to a crucial swing group, those under the age of 35. 72% of them want it legal, and about half have used it. This is a clear play to bring them back into the president's camp, a wedge issue to use against the Democratic opposition. It's the old carrot dangling strategy, plain and simple. Both parties have been doing this for years, promising legalization but never quite delivering. Will Trump pull the rug out from under them? The prediction markets, those who put their money where their mouth is, give it an 88% chance of happening before the end of Trump's term. But very strongly considering is still a step short of actually changing federal policy, isn't it? And that's where the rubber meets the road. Because despite what the president says or what the polls suggest, he can't just wave a magic wand and reschedule cannabis. This is where the legal eagle in me kicks in. An executive order from the president can direct relevant authorities like the HHS to make recommendations, but it's the DEA administrator who signs off on rescheduling a drug. And guess what? The president's hand-picked administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration, Terry Cole, posted on LinkedIn just last year, "Everybody knows my stance on marijuana after 30-plus years in law enforcement, so don't even ask. Hashtags like just say no, not legal for distribution, health issues, and back the blue. That, my friends, is a direct, undeniable obstacle. It's not just the DEA. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has also voted against cannabis bills over the years and expressed skepticism. So, while the president makes these strong statements, there's significant opposition right in his own backyard. And then there's the medical debate. We heard one doctor on the clip citing a huge UCLA study, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, that looked at 15 years of research, 2,500 studies, concluding no absolute evidence that it is useful for pain. They even claimed it makes anxiety worse and interrupts sleep. They argued that without proven medical usage, it really doesn't fit Schedule 3. This doctor even suggested the next step should be Schedule 2 because it is addictive, especially with high THC content. The argument is that you only move something to Schedule 3 if you already have proven medical uses, not to enable more research. It's a complete flip of the script that the industry pushes. This is the prohibitionist camp fighting tooth and nail, ignoring the experiences of millions of Americans, and throwing out studies that fit their narrative. But let's not pretend all the arguments against cannabis are based on solid, unbiased science. As one expert correctly stated, there's a mountain of misinformation and disinformation. The current schedule. One classification lumps cannabis in with drugs like heroin and METH, suggesting no medical benefit. That's simply absurd. We know there are medical benefits. The research has been there for years, despite the federal hurdles. However, amidst this battle, there are real economic impacts. Dispensary owners in places like Arizona, like Rahul Molina from Mint Cannabis, are cautiously optimistic. They see rescheduling as a way to eliminate Section 280E, a federal tax code that charges 40% off gross margins, squeezing cannabis businesses, limiting growth and innovation. This tax code has crippled countless legitimate businesses. Loosening banking restrictions would mean moving away from all cash transactions, allowing access to traditional loans and credit card payments. This could trickle down to employees and consumers, making things easier for everyone. The promise of more research is crucial here, but the government can't have it both ways, claiming no medical use while simultaneously saying they need to do more research. It's a bureaucratic catch-22 designed to maintain control, not foster progress. Now, we've walked through the political chess match and the scientific skirmishes. But what about the ultimate outcome? The final decision? It's here, folks, and the details are both encouraging and concerning. Well, after all the speculation, the back and forth, the political football, it finally happened. President Trump has signed an executive order to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Now, no matter how you slice it, this is massive news. It's a step finally in the right direction when it comes to breaking the decades-old stigma surrounding this plant. But let's pause. We've seen this movie before. Every time something like this happens, the establishment spins it as a victory for the people. But what's the real story? On the same week that President Trump designated fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, a move that grants the government unprecedented power, he also reclassified cannabis to a less dangerous category. It's a stark contrast that highlights the deeply inconsistent and often hypocritical approach of our federal government. So what does Schedule 3 actually mean? Unlike Schedule 1, which is reserved for drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse, like heroin, LSD, and ecstasy, Schedule 3 substances are acknowledged to have moderate to low potential for dependence and accepted medical uses. Think Tylenol with codeine, ketamine, or anabolic steroids. This is a monumental shift in federal recognition. The executive order, as some leaked details reveal, goes beyond just the classification. It directs the Attorney General to expedite and complete the rescheduling process, not just to start it as the Biden administration did. Get it done already. Sheesh, is the sentiment, and I echo it. It also directs top White House staff to work with Congress to ensure patients have access to full-spectrum CBD products, and even urges Congress to update the definition of hemp to mitigate the fallout from that recent spending bill that broadly banned consumable hemp products. It seems the administration is listening to the blowback from the people, at least to some extent. The HHS is also directed to develop research methods to utilize real-world evidence and improve access to hemp-derived CBD. This covers more ground than just banking. It aims at patient access and research. And let's talk about those tangible benefits that will, hopefully, trickle down. Millions of Americans on Medicare could become eligible to receive CBD as early as April of next year, at no charge if their doctors recommend it. Up to $500 of hemp-derived products each year, with CMS collecting data to monitor outcomes. This is huge, especially for older Americans who live with chronic medical problems. Veterans, who have disproportionately suffered from conditions like PTSD, TBI, depression, and chronic pain, were specifically mentioned. This reclassification will allow much-needed research into cannabis to finally prove what anecdotal evidence has suggested for years, that it can significantly benefit these conditions. The American Legion is rightly thanking the president for this leadership. This is a potential new method of treatment for our heroes who have suffered enough. For businesses, this is expected to lift a massive federal tax penalty, Section 280E, allowing them standard business deductions and making banks and investors less reluctant to dip their toe into the industry. This means more capital, more innovation, and potentially more legitimate businesses. We also might see more legitimate cannabis career certifications, like the ones at Harrisburg Area Community College, helping people get real jobs in a growing industry. But let's be crystal clear, this is not full legalization. You won't be picking up cannabis at your gas station. It's still federally illegal for recreational use, and Congressman Pete Sessions' argument that it's one of the most dangerous addictive products and that no one believes we need more research on marijuana is simply outdated and, frankly, absurd. The research is there. The resistance is political and ideological. The fight is far from over. This is an incremental step, yes, but it's a crucial one. It acknowledges the plant's medicinal value and opens the door for better regulation, more access, and hopefully, less draconian policies down the line. It's not the end game, but it's a powerful move on the chessboard of freedom. So there you have it, folks. President Trump has signed the executive order, reclassifying cannabis to Schedule 3. There are definite benefits, particularly for patients, veterans, and legitimate businesses, and it's a monumental shift in how the federal government views this plant. But let's not forget the corporate lobbying, the DEA opposition, and the lingering threat that this could primarily benefit big cannabis while leaving smaller players in the dust. The system is rigged, but we are here to watch it, to call it out, and to fight for true justice. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think this reclassification is a genuine step towards full legalization and freedom, or is it just another political chess move designed to benefit the powerful few? Drop your thoughts and concerns in the comments section below. And if you want the truth, if you want unvarnished analysis, then smash that like button, share this video with everyone you know, and subscribe to join the movement. We're here every single day, exposing the lies and demanding transparency. Don't miss our next video, where we reveal how some legal states are actually taking steps to roll back legalization, heading back to the dark days of prohibition. You won't believe it.